It's Phil Mackey here with Joanne today on, what's the date? February 26th, 2024. And we're going to talk about your whole life story, Joanne. Thanks for joining us.
Okay.
So you were born, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of these details, June 23rd, 1939.
Yes.
Let's start there and kind of work backwards first, and then we'll get into your life. What do you remember about your parents? What are some things that stand out about? What are some of your first childhood memories and just life growing up in the 1940s in Minnesota, right?
Yes. Always lived here.
Okay.
Well, I just remember living in a terrible little apartment, a duplex upstairs, no bathtub, big kitchen with a wash machine with a wringer that I put my hand in to help my mother, and I got my hand caught in. But my grandparents lived on the other side of the block. My great-grandparents lived on the other side of that block. So I had loving people around me all on my own block.
And what city or what town were you born in?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis?
Mm-hmm.
So you spent your entire, because you went to Patrick Henry High School.
Mm-hmm.
So Minneapolis all throughout your childhood.
Absolutely. My whole life.
Yeah.
Minneapolis. Some suburbs, but Minneapolis.
Right. What were your parents like? What do you remember most about your parents?
I don't know where to go with that. My father was very social and outgoing. My mother more quieter, I guess I should say, to a point, and then she would blow up. So they fought a lot.
Yeah.
And I think she just was really insecure about herself, and my father wasn't. He had a lot of outside activities that he liked to do, and she didn't have any.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we can go as deep or not into this, but it sounds like you and your father had a very special relationship,
right?
And your mom, maybe the relationship was a little bit different.
Oh, way different.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
contentious, I would say.
Contentious?
Yes.
What did that, just to fast forward, what did those dynamics teach you going forward, I guess?
Because
you have all these wonderful people in your family tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that. And try to get away from her as much as you can. Yeah. Hence leaving home at 17. And, it's not how could you, it's how could you not,
So you left home when you were 17?
Mm-hmm.
You were still in school?
I was.
So what did you do?
I went to live with a girlfriend of mine and her family. Mm-hmm. Till I graduated. And then, this is a whole story, though. Then at 18, we got jobs and realized we knew all the boys that we wanted to know, so we should branch out and go somewhere else. So at that time, do you want me to tell the whole story?
I want the whole story, yes.
Then we did, there was an ad in the paper for a guy who was driving to California, and he was looking for people to go with him that would help him with the gas. So my friend said, hey, that's the deal. Let's do that. I said, well, but we can't just get in this car with just anybody. We should call him and tell him to come over and we'll, interview him.
Smart.
So we thought we did that. We verified his name and where he worked. Besides, he had a very hot, brand new, pink and white Chevy Bel Air. And that kind of cinched the deal for sure. And so we gave him $25 each for gas. And much to both our parents' chagrin, we got in the car. But before we did, he said, by the way, another guy is coming with us. He also offered to pay $25, and he is in the Navy, and we will drop him off in San Diego. And the closest I'm going to get to Los Angeles was to San Francisco. little girl from Minneapolis, never been out of the city she had. I'd never been in a hotel before. I'd never been on a plane before. I'd never been out of Minnesota before.
Wow.
So it was all new country.
And this is kind of the late 1950s at this point?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
We graduated in 1959, and it was a few months after that.
Okay.
Yes.
So you verified that he had a name
Yeah.
and a fun car.
Yes. And he worked where he said he worked.
Okay.
That's all we knew. And he said, here's the deal. We're going to drive straight through. We're going to stop for gas. If you need potty breaks, let me know. We'll stop for that, but there'll be no other stopping. I said, okay. So he drove us downtown San Francisco, dropped us off next to a hotel. We stayed overnight. I don't know how we ate a meal. I don't remember that. But the ride was there, was without event. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And our parents were scared to death. My mother said she would get an attorney and get me and make him stop, not let me go. And my father said, she can't do that. So I said, okay, I'm going.
Yeah.
But anyway, we had arrangements to stay with her aunt in Los Angeles and then look for jobs. So we did that.
So you're in and is there any other story about this guy, or was that
No,
the end? That was
the end.
That was the
Dropped us off. We're good to go.
So 2 week, 2 weeks?
Oh, probably almost a week, about 4 or 5 days then, I imagine. There weren't the freeways that there are now.
Yeah. And have you ever had any other contact with this guy?
Never.
That's a really cool story.
Don't even know his name or anything else about him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're in California.
Mm-hmm.
And how much time did you and your friend then spend in California before going back?
A year and a half.
Okay.
For me. She stayed a little longer because she got married there.
Okay.
I got married there also. But then I came home.
No, pardon my dumb question. So is Dennis your only husband, or?
No, this was my first husband.
Okay.
I call this my high school marriage.
Okay. And how long? So you come back home. You got married out there, or you
Yes.
got married? Okay, and then you
in
came back to
Hollywood,
Minnesota.
California.
Okay. What was that like for you? And you were in your late teens at this point, early 20s?
Yeah, no, not 20. I was 18, 19.
Seems like you're doing a lot of this against the wishes of your parents as
Oh,
well,
absolutely.
right? Very rebellious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally.
And did you come back to Minnesota as a married couple, or did you?
I came back because he was in the military. He was in the service in
Okay.
the Marine Corps, and so he had to stay. So
Yeah.
I came back and lived with my mother.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I had a child, and then he came home on leave, and I had another child. And my father bought me a house so I could get out of her house. The house was now very crowded. And I moved into that house. So when he did come home, that's where we lived.
Okay. And is this Todd and Tim, your
Yes,
first two kids?
Yes.
Okay.
I also had a third child, Christian, that passed away
Okay.
at birth.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, what was it like just in general? You're born right before the war.
Correct.
And your childhood was sort of, I'm guessing some of your first memories are probably as the war is ending and life is getting back to normal. What was life like just growing up post World War II for you?
Well, about the war, my uncles were all in the war, and we would get packages from Guam, and they would be turtles with small turtles came in packages, and they would have paintings on them. They would paint the shell of the turtle different colors and write something on it. Maybe where they were from, maybe Guam, you know, or I don't know, different places. As a little girl, we would I would wait for those packages to come. But I remembered the day the war was over. A long radio, floor standing, which I have in my house
the same
today.
radio.
Yep.
Wow.
And pressing our ears to that, and my mother yelling, "The war's over, the war's over."
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why everyone was happy. Before that, I remember my mother going to the grocery store and bringing her bacon drippings, they called them fat cans, sitting on the counter, and you brought them, and then you got ration stamps, and you saved those stamps to be able to buy things with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I remember that, and you couldn't have silk or nylon things because that was all used to make parachutes.
Yeah, so there were certain materials and certain products that were off limits, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so the war is over, and now you're forming more memories, I suppose. But the 1950s then bring this. What was it like? What were some of your, just in terms of music and things that you would do going through high school? Mm-hmm. What are some of the things you enjoyed doing from
in high school?
14, 15 up to 18 years old? Besides, hitchhiking to California, what was it like just growing up?
Drinking. Boys. I don't know. Girls getting up on the roof, coating themselves with baby oil to get tans.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Just laying up on the roof of a house?
On a roof of a house, yep. Crawling
These dangerous activities, and hitchhiking and climbing on the roofs.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep, that's true. Yeah, not for the faint of heart.
Yeah.
And not caring much about school. Going to dances. They were called
sock hops?
Nope. Pat for Patrick Henry.
Oh, okay.
Pat something dancing. I'm not going to remember it now. I'll be mad.
By the end, it might fire.
Yeah,
in your brain.
but there were dances every Friday night.
Oh, it's like at school?
No, at a place, a hall, like on Penn Avenue North. And everybody went, and sometimes there were boys fighting. There weren't gangs then, but there certainly were boys that ganged together.
Yeah.
And girls that fought too, but it wasn't part of where I was. I just saw it. And they had bands, young guys playing in bands there and just dancing.
Yeah. What kind of music are we talking about here? Jazz, old time, rock? Was it?
None of that. I think it was just contemporary music at the time, which was Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
I don't know what else. Jazz.
Elvis was definitely the big, it was
he
a lot
was
of probably
the
big
big
band
guy.
Jazz music, and then Elvis.
I had the first album he ever made.
No, it was very taboo though at the time, right? I mean, Elvis comes along and he's so inappropriate
scandalous.
with his shaking his hips, right?
Yeah, but I guess people I was with liked to. I liked to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So music was always a big thing in our family. My mother loved music. She was a dancer. My father was a dancer. So music was always playing in our house.
Okay. So now just to fast forward again. So you've had kids. You're with your first husband. He comes back from the military, and you're living in your own house.
Yes.
With your kids in Minneapolis area. What was that period like?
Awful. Awful. Yeah. First of all, it's really busy to have two babies. They're a year apart, 14 months. And that was really busy. And I didn't know what I was doing at all. You know, I thought as a mom, you keep them clean, feed them once in a while, and put them down for a
Keep them alive.
nap, and they're good. Good to go. And I married my husband because I thought he was funny, but I had no idea that he was drunk. So he we were now 20 when he came home. We weren't even of legal age to own a house or to buy alcohol or any of that. And when I got a restraining order and had him out of the house, he was abusive, drunk. Yeah. He wasn't so funny after a while. And I went to social services to say, what do you do now? What do I do now? And they said, well, tell me about him. And when I did, they said, do you understand that he's an alcoholic and he's not even old enough to drink?
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't even know what an alcoholic is. I didn't understand what that meant. We didn't have any alcoholics in our family. My mother didn't drink at all. She always accused my father, but I really never saw any of that.
Yeah.
Anything inappropriate. But so I went to my priest and he said, you need to get out now. And that's a very unusual thing for a Catholic priest to say.
Yeah.
So I did. And my mother said, you don't ever need to put up with any abuse ever again after her. Never again. So I did. But I happened to be pregnant at the time of my divorce. Oh. And that's the baby that passed.
Okay.
But it was all good. And then I met Dennis.
Yeah. How did you? Okay. So you've made this huge life decision,
right?
The correct life decision. It
right.
sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
How did you meet Dennis?
From my mother. He and my mother worked together, and they used to go out and have drinks after work. And my mother said, gee, there's this nice guy that I work with, and I've told him about you, and he'd like to meet you. I said, no, I don't want to meet any of your boyfriends. Thank you, and I don't have time for that. I have 2 little kids, and I don't have time for that. And she said, well, is it okay if I give him your number? And I believe I said, no, I'm not interested. Hear me, which she didn't. And she gave him my number, and he called, and he said, hi, I'm Dennis, and I wonder if you'd like to go out. And I said, no, I wouldn't.
Oh, wow.
No, I wouldn't. I said, go out with my mother. That's just fine. So my mother said, there's no way she's going to meet you voluntarily. So I'm going to set up this lunch with her, and then you'll just be there. And he agreed. And I walked into, they both worked at Schlamp's Furs, a big furrier downtown.
Okay.
And when I walked in, there was a man standing there, and I just knew she did this. And he said, can I give you a ride home after lunch? And I said, no, I'm going to take a bus, thanks. And he said, oh, come on. I said, no, I have to stop downtown. He said, so do I. So,
persistent.
It was, yeah. Can I meet your children? No. No. It was, so all the way home, it's, what kind of music do you like? I don't know. And will you go out with me Saturday? So I said, okay. So that was the first date. First date, I had told him the story about the city condemning my garbage because it had maggots in it, and I didn't know what to do with it. And he was so nervous about going out with me that he was an hour late to pick me up.
What was he doing for an hour?
Drinking.
Oh.
Not a good thing with me.
Correct.
Because I'd just been through all that. But he did, and he came in with a garbage can with an orchid corsage in the bottom.
Oh.
And I'd never met anybody like him. And he was really a grown-up at 25.
And you were, so he's 25 and you were younger?
I'm just about 23, I think.
Okay.
Just going to be 23.
Mm-hmm.
And so he maybe was 24. But when we got to we had a great time at dinner. I didn't know he had drank that much until he got up to use the restroom, and he held up the walls on each side. So my mother said, well, how was your date? How was it with Dennis? And I said, well, your friend is very nice, but he's a drunk, and I don't want another one in my life. Thank you anyway.
Yeah.
But he was very persistent, and he did. And one of the things when he brought me home, he put out his hand at the door, and I said, what? What do you want? And he said, your keys. I said, you want my keys? Why? He said, give me your keys. And he opened the door and handed them back.
Yeah.
We both smoked. He brought me my brand of cigarettes and his on the date. I just never met anybody like that.
Because it took some persistence on his end.
Yes.
And he made an interesting first impression with
Absolutely.
the drinking. Was there a moment somewhere where you, like, what was the moment where it went from him pursuing you to you being, okay, I'm into Dennis? Was there something he said? Was there a night?
No, I just remember being impressed by those things, the keys, and my saying, yeah, now, what do you want? You want my keys?
Yeah.
To get in my house?
Yeah.
Yeah. So strange.
Yeah.
But lovely that he brought thoughtful. And then he said, what do you do on the weekends? This was one of the things. And I said, well, I go to church on Sunday. He said, do you take the boys? And I said, I drop them off at my mom's, and then I walk a block or two to church and back. And he said, how would you feel about my going to church with you? I said, you're not Catholic. And he said, no, but I know about it. When I was in the service, I went to Catholic masses with my friends. And so I said, okay. And he went to mass. He went several weeks with me. And then he said, did you hear Father talking about Catholic instruction? I said, yes. He said, I'd like to do that. I guess all of these things were impressive to me. And I was totally bowled over. Downtown shopping, I saw an outfit in a window, and the next week I had it. Oh. Extravagant outfit for the
So you made a mention of it as you were passing or something?
Yeah, we looked in the window, and I said, that's just gorgeous. And he didn't say anything, and the next time we went out, I had a box with the outfit in.
How did he propose?
And that's how my marriage went.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, did he propose to you, I'm assuming? Mm-hmm. How did that happen? Did he ask permission? Did he?
No, he did not ask permission. That I remember. I think he just asked me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did he ask you and how?
In my house. Yeah, in my home. Yeah. So, and that's just how it went. It was lots of presents, and later I felt purchased because there were so many things. He couldn't do things small. Everything had to be large.
Yeah. So you guys get married. And what year did you get married?
The end of 1962.
Okay. And you already have two kids. When did you then have your other three kids?
63.
Okay.
We had the first child.
Kelly?
Okay. And then 2.5 years later, we had Whitney. And 1965. Is that right? 65, 66?
Okay.
2.5 years later, and she was born in our house. We had bought a brand new house, and she was born on my bed. And that was an event.
Was that planned?
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no. No, scary. But I tell all the children on their birthdays, okay, it's your birthday today. Do you want to hear your birthday story? Now they say no. But for years, they had to listen. So So they listened to the birthing stories. Hers was always more exciting than anybody else's.
Grab an extra tub of popcorn for Whitney's story. Yeah.
Yes. And Kirsten was born in 1970.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so Kelly, Whitney, Kirsten, and then Todd and Tim from separate relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Give me one quality. If you could explain each of those five with their one main quality that comes to mind, their top quality, how would you describe each of those five?
Todd is Jessica's father.
Jessica sitting in here with us, by the way, for the viewing and listening audience.
Thank you.
Off camera.
Thank you. Gosh, I would describe him now or then as a child.
Ooh. How about one word or one characteristic for child version and adult version?
Child, bully.
Ooh.
Adult, hermit.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Brilliant, very bright. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Tim, child, funny. Adult, funny. And overachiever. An overachiever who's funny. Yep. All right. Kelly, beautiful. Mine. She looked like me. She was only this big. She was small, and she looked just like me. She was an angel. Adult. My best friend. Yeah, my best friend.
And your first girl.
First girl.
Yeah.
And my first child with my husband. And it was just everything.
Yeah, it not to discredit Todd and Tim who may be listening, but it's a new healthy relationship.
And I was more of an adult.
Yes.
By that time. I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
At 19 and 20. I was just trying to keep my head above water.
Yeah.
But with her, it all seemed right.
Yeah.
And then Whitney. Whitney was, colicky baby. Adult. Kind. Kirsten. Kirsten was funny. Easy. Yeah. Easy child. Spoiled with not us, not her parents, but with her siblings. As an adult, caretaker. I live with her.
Okay.
So she's very much a caretaker and problem solver.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What about and how many grandchildren do you have?
I have 6.
6 grandchildren?
Mm-hmm. And 2 great-grandchildren of Jessica.
Okay. So what is it? I mean, I'm not going to make you go through the same exercise, but just in general, having just to fast forward, I guess, to the timeline, having grandchildren and then great-grandchildren, and just seeing this family tree emerge. Yeah. What sort of comes to mind when you first became a grandparent and you see this building out now, I guess?
First of all, I was 37 when she was born.
Yeah.
So it was fun, but I was still a busy mom.
Yeah.
But I think the other kids and I had fun with her because this was a brand new thing.
And Kirsten was maybe 6 years old.
Yes.
So so you're taking care of a 6-year-old daughter, and now you have a granddaughter over here too.
Right. Can I tell a story about her?
Absolutely.
When she was little.
About Jessica?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the things, I took care of her every once in a while. She stayed overnights and stuff, and she was with me, and we went shopping. And we were at a produce market. And on the way there, she said to me, I have so many grandmas, I don't know what to call them. And I said, well, that's all right. She said, what should I call you? And she said, I said, you can call me your cute grandma. And she said, okay. that'll be fine. So we went in the store in the market, and all of a sudden I realized she had wandered a little. And in this market was a butcher shop, a meat market as well. So I'm at the meat market ordering some meat, and I look around, and all of a sudden I hear this little voice saying, "Cute grandma, cute grandma." And the butcher stops his wrapping my meat and says, "Are you kidding?" I said, "Why? Do you have a problem with that?"
Yeah.
I thought that was a really funny story.
Yeah. It's a great compliment, too. I mean, did it, what did it feel like being a grandma in your late 30s?
Unreal. Just kind of unreal. It just didn't seem real.
Yeah. Yeah. But here she is.
Here she is. Yeah. It's been a good ride.
Yeah. What, tell us just a little bit about some of the things you did for work in your life. So you were raising children for a period of time.
A long period.
And then then you went out and you wind up working for Weight Watchers for a while, for MCDA, and you did go out and have a career. So when did you transition to, okay, the kids can figure their stuff out now, and I'm going to go and make some money?
I have to back up a little bit from that and just say that the kids were growing up.
Yeah.
And they were all in school. And now I'd been scrubbing floors and doing laundry for umpteen years. And I said to my husband, well, I think, I helped you get through college and get your degree. I think it's my time. I want to go and do that. And he just couldn't understand that at all. Mm. He said, why would you do that? Why would you want to do that? You're going to put us in a different tax bracket? And don't think I'm going to come home and make meals and wash clothes so that you can study. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. So I thought, boy, he's making this too hard. I guess I'm just going to have to give that up. But out of the blue, he came home one day in the middle of the morning and said, there's a college. I don't know what they call that. A whole bunch of college people, representatives, were at the convention center, and they had a college fair.
Yeah.
And he said, I thought you'd like to go to that. And I said, and he said, so I took off work and I'm going to take you.
Wow.
And I was totally shocked. I said, okay, give me a minute.
Yeah.
And we went to the college fair, and we went through the whole thing and talked to people and gathered information. And as we're walking out, he said, well, what'd you think? And I said, well, I think there were several nice colleges. And he said, well, I think it was perfectly clear. And I said, you do? And he said, yeah, I think you need to go to St. Catherine's.
Oh.
And I went, wow. I said, are you then willing to pay for college? And he said, absolutely. And he said, and I think we should go there right now and see the registrar. So we did. And as we're walking on campus, he had tears in his eyes. And he said, I am so jealous and angry that you get to do this and I have to work at a job that I hate.
Wow.
I said, I never knew you hate. Why do you hate your job? What happened that you hate your job? He said, I hate doing. He's a CPA. Mm-hmm. And he said, I hate doing it. But I have a mortgage and 5 children. And it's required.
Yeah.
So
you hadn't really you didn't know he hated his job.
Did not.
For all those years.
Did not.
And he must have hit it fairly well.
Yes.
When he came home.
Absolutely. he didn't come home saying, well, I had a good time at work today. But
I don't know how many CPAs come home.
I don't think they do. Yeah, today was a good time with numbers.
Yeah.
Yay. No, didn't do that. But I didn't know that. But so I took some classes at college at St. Catherine's.
Yeah. And what did you go to? What did you major in something? What did you?
Well, I started. I didn't finish college.
Okay.
So I started, and he suggested not to be hard on myself, and the teachers did too, that I should take something that I was passionate about, and that I felt that I already knew things about. So I did that, and I started with theater class and social studies, I think it was. Mm-hmm. So I knew a lot about theater, and I'd done some theater, and I volunteered at a theater from the time Kirsten was little. We always said she grew up on the Presidium of a stage.
Love it.
And with everybody feeding her donuts while I built a set. So, now I lost my train.
Oh, we're just talking about you get into the theater classes. And
yes,
social
theater
studies
and social studies. Yeah. So the social study class, theater was piece of cake. I knew the teacher, and she would yell out in this auditorium with 320 students, Joanne, how many seats are there in the Guthrie? So that was kind of fun. My husband got into it. He bought me saddle shoes and all of that. So he said he would take care of kids. He would make the dinner. I was allowed to study. He changed his whole demeanor about that.
Now, could he cook a meal on the level that you could?
Oh, absolutely not.
What did he usually try to make during these years?
Well, he always made Saturday night dinners for kids.
Okay. Because
we usually went out. We had date night and things usually on Saturday nights. So we went out for dinner most of the time, and he started cooking Saturday dinners. And he had a small menu, but it was corn dogs.
Ooh.
Hamburgers, tacos. I don't remember what else, but maybe that was 3. But that's what he did, and the kids loved it because he made kid food.
Yeah.
So
corn dogs are great. Underrated food item. Corn dogs.
It is. Hot dogs in general.
Agreed.
Yeah. But then social studies was harder, and I just couldn't get started with that. And I went in and talked to the teacher, and he said, I think you are being hard on yourself. He said, let's take one thing that you're familiar with. Make it a movie, a book, anything, and write me an outline. So I went and saw the movie The Elephant Man.
Yeah.
I was blown away and very fascinated and felt very passionate about it. So I read the book, I went the movie, and then I wrote the draft. And when I brought the draft in, and I said, so when do you want me to start the paper? And he said, you don't have to do that. You've done that in your draft.
Yeah.
So I ended up loving it and got a B plus on my paper or something.
Pretty good.
And I felt I was off and running.
Yeah.
But then we separated, and I had to quit school and get a job. And that's when I went to work. And that was kind of traumatic because I didn't know how to do anything. I'd been home for 18 years or more.
Yeah.
Taking care of kids. So my first job interview that I thought I could just go to a job. I knew how to type, and I could answer a phone or run a switchboard. I knew how to do that. Switchboards, do you know what that is?
I was born toward the end of the switchboard era, I feel like.
Yeah. courts.
There is funny now. There's videos on social media where generations of kids are holding a phone, answer a phone call and they hold their hand out like it's an iPhone. Our generation, you put your hand up to your face like this, right? It's funny how things go out of style.
And they were connected to the wall. You didn't walk around with them.
Right.
Sure. So I went and applied for this job, and it was a typewriter that I hadn't ever seen. It was it corrected. And I was trying to correct things, and I couldn't. And I walked out of the office crying. And he kept coming in and peeking and saying, "How you doing? How you doing?" Fine. But I walked out crying and said, "I don't want to work here. Here's my application back. I don't want to work here. People are wearing jeans. I don't want to work anywhere where people wear jeans."
Yeah.
So he said, "I think you're going to have to give yourself a break." So everybody's telling me to lighten up. So I went to the community college and took some classes. I took just business classes, typing and how to run a fax machine probably or something.
Yeah.
But I took some classes, and then I went on another interview and got the job.
There you
and just kept going from there.
Yeah. And did you ever remarry after you separated with Dennis?
Never.
And so that was in maybe the 80s, the mid 80s?
1985.
Okay. How old were your kids when you separated? And
I think Todd and Tim were both, I know they were in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly was probably 19. Whitney was at college at St. Joseph. And Kirsten was 11. So she was the only young one. We did end up getting a divorce. Kirsten was 15 by the time we got the divorce. And I took her with me. I said, she's going to go and live with me. I'm going to get us a place of our own. We're not going to make any compromises for anything anymore.
Yeah.
She's compromised her whole life as being the youngest of a big family. I've compromised my whole life by being the mother of a big family. So I said, we're not going to do that. And I'm going to buy a house with 2 master bedrooms somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So we looked at a lot of things, and I ended up with a townhouse that did have 2 master bedrooms. And 2 bathrooms.
Yeah.
So,
good for you.
We didn't. We went shopping for 2 days. I didn't want anything for my house. I bought everything new. Filled up the car, went back the next day.
Yeah.
Dishes, sheets, linens, pots and pans, everything. She could decorate her room however she wanted.
Just a clean reset.
Clean.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
That's one thing. We've only known each other for 45 minutes or so, but your ability to sense when something is off and hit a reset button seems to be a theme in your life.
It is.
You're not afraid to make a move that might be right for you and your family.
When I left with a suitcase with clothes and $20 or something. Had no idea how to do that. Yeah. And I always said, if you don't like your life, change it. Change it. Make the change. I even went to a woman's counseling kind of center. I don't know what it was called, but I went to a counseling place, and it was all women. And they said, "Joanne, why are you here?" And I said, "Well, I'm really unhappy in my marriage, and I don't know why. And I'm worried that I'm crazy to be unhappy in this situation." They said, "Well, is he abusive?" I said, "No." "Does he not work?" "No, he works." Does he beat you?" "No." "Well, what's the problem?" I said, "That's why I'm here. I don't know. I'm just really unhappy."
Yeah.
And then they said, well, and you left? You're separated? And I said, yeah. Tell me about the day you left. And I said, I baked a casserole, did the laundry, folded it, put it in the rooms, packed a suitcase, and left. And they went, oh, they called all the other women and said, you have to listen to this lady. Her husband makes a lot of money. She has this big family, and she doesn't, and he's a nice guy, and she can't figure out why she's unhappy. So she makes the casserole and does the laundry, packs the suitcase, and leaves.
Yeah. Yeah, but you weren't happy.
I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know why, but I didn't. Yeah. I later figured it out, but it took me a while.
Yeah. Well, and I have a question toward the end here that just sort of a reflection question, but I'm going to wait like 10 minutes to ask you that because I'd love to ask maybe 5 questions from just different points of view to go back at different places in your life, starting with you have traveled to Greece, Italy, Ireland, Paris. I'd love to hear your favorite travel places. Is there a travel story that stands out? Just the favorite places that you've been in your life.
My absolute favorite. I say, when I had my 80th birthday party, my daughters came to me and said, we'd like to take you on vacation for your birthday. We'd like to go somewhere on a trip with you. Where would you love to go? Tell us a place. And I said, I don't think in my life I could have enough of Paris. Absolute favorite place in the world that I've been to. And they said, Paris it is. And we went to Paris. And Whitney said, we're not going to stay in a hotel. I rented a flat. I ordered a driver. And we're going to Paris.
Yeah.
And we did. And that was great fun.
What was your favorite, I guess, characteristic about Paris, or what makes Paris stand out?
Oh, it is, they call it a romantic city, and it truly is. It's old. Everything's old and with a lot of history and museums and food. I always think food is the major thing everywhere.
Wow. You and I are tracking right now. Not just corn dogs, but...
Oh, no. Food.
Yeah.
Real food. French food.
Okay, what is your... I know that food... Because one of my next questions is about just some of your favorite family traditions. And I know Christmas Eve has always been big for you.
Correct.
So I guess 2-part question off food. Tell me about your Christmas Eve menu.
All right.
And then maybe these things overlap. What are 3 of your favorite food dishes that either you enjoy making or that you just, if you get one last meal, it's got to be this?
I will tell you our Christmas Eve menu first. Always the same. Always the same. It's a beef tenderloin. And, of course, as there were more children, it's more beef tenderloin. It's like several $100s worth of beef tenderloin. Beef tenderloin, a cheesy potato and it's not like scalloped potatoes, but it's sliced potatoes with creme fraiche and Gruyere cheese. It's French Gruyere cheese, and it's amazing. And Whitney makes a wine mushroom reduction sauce for the steak. She makes it every year, and it's a killer. And we usually just have a salad with that, and then for dessert, my husband on Christmas Eve had a bronze flambe pan, and every Christmas Eve he made bananas Foster.
Oh,
so we made the commitment to, when he passed away, by the way, at 59.
Okay.
So we had the flambe pan, and we said from now on, the males in the family, starting with the oldest to the youngest, will make the dessert, and it will be bananas Foster.
Yeah.
And so it was. And that's what we do to this day. And the appetizers are exactly the same. There's 4 appetizers. They're always the same. I've suggested other things to them, And they always say, no, we can't do that. Can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And most everybody comes. I mean, sometimes now that everyone's so grown and has their lives in different directions, sometimes there are people that can't. But for the most part, everyone tries to be there on Christmas Eve. And it's always in the same place at Whitney's house. And she has this big family room. She bought the house to be able to entertain in. And that's where we go.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's beautiful.
Here's another question here, just kind of big picture, reflecting back on your life.
Mm-hmm.
In what ways, for the better and maybe for the worst, has the world changed the most since you entered in the late 1930s?
Yeah. It's one word, and I think I wrote that: technology. The technology has made our world totally different.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a radio to put your ear next to as a child and sit and listen to Saturday morning kid shows and when the war ends. That's how you got your news. Telephones attached to the wall, and it cost money if you wanted to call long distance. And
party lines too, right?
Party lines, yes. Yes. Just so many technological things. Cars, house appliances. Who ever heard of an air fryer?
Right.
Just
thanks for the air fryer, though, by the way. Great invention.
Yeah. Well, some people like it.
Oh, you're out on the air fryer.
Well, we only used it a couple of times, and it went back under a cupboard.
Yeah, it sounds like your cooking skills are above the level of an air fryer, though. So
you do?
I don't think you're putting the beef tenderloin in an air fryer.
Never anything in the air fryer. But it's just so many technological things, And I think the bad news about that is the personal communication. Personally, there isn't that connection. We don't call each other and talk on the phone. We text.
Yeah.
We don't. People dropped in to visit. They would just come over and stop by, and you say, "Oh, can I give you a drink or a cup of coffee?"
Right.
Everybody stopped. Everything stopped
now
to visit with your friend.
You knock on a door now, and you're asking for trouble. Right?
Absolutely.
It's weird if somebody knocks on your door.
Very weird. Very weird to do, and offensive.
Yeah.
Because you want to be called first.
Yeah.
And so that's changed. Cars, huge.
Reverse cam, Parallel parking's a lot easier than it was.
I parallel parked for the first time.
Oh, yeah?
84 years old. I parallel parked.
Nice job.
Without a problem. I mean, I've tried it before, but I've hit cars.
Yeah.
So.
I hit a car, I think, or a cone on my driver's test, so I can.
So did I, 2 times. Guy said, the instructor said, I'm going to give you your license, but lady, you probably shouldn't be driving. Nope.
You can have the license, just do not parallel park.
Yep. Yep.
What is I'm going to take birth of children and second wedding day anyways out as happy moments that are given.
Yes.
What is the happiest you can ever remember being in your life when you take those moments?
That's a hard question. Happiest. Wow.
Maybe it was a singular moment, maybe it was a time period, but what's the happiest that you've...
I was happy being married for a long time. A long time. It was fun. Mm-hmm. It was fun. He made it fun. You never knew what he was going to come home with every day. And Mother's Day, birthdays, all of that. Some men sent flowers. He sent flowers that filled a table and boxes. He would go into a store and say, put each one of those things in a separate box. And they would be wrapped and stacked. So, yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
So that part was great fun. It was fun. We all went skiing, and that was fun. It was a whole family thing.
Yeah.
And we bought a condo in Florida That was fun.
Okay. So you had a second home in Florida for a while.
We did.
Where in Florida?
Clearwater Beach.
Okay.
When it didn't look like it, Clearwater Beach looks now.
Yeah.
There was nothing there. There was a hotel, a Holiday Inn next door, and then one little pizza restaurant across the street.
Okay.
That was it. The kids would walk to the pier and get hot dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so, now you can't drive down the street. You would never let your children run across the street to the pizza restaurant.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like that in a lot of places now.
Yeah. So that was really, Florida was really fun to have the kids that when they were little. For all of us to be able to do that family stuff was fun.
Yeah. And would you fly down, road trip down? How would you get down?
The first time we went to he bought it. He went down and bought it, and we all went down to see what we had then.
Yeah.
And I decorated it from here, from Minnesota. And then we brought all the things down. But we drove, and it takes 2 days. And we didn't take our oldest son because he had moved out by then. But we had, and Kirsten was little. She was 5 when we bought it. So he put a mattress in the back seat, and he had built a carrier for the car, and we put suitcases up there. And the kids would sit back and play on the mattress in the back. But it took 2 days, so you had to stop. Everybody had to change clothes, have dinner, sleep, get up in the morning and go.
Yeah.
And after the first time we did that, he said, that's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
I can't do that. So we're going to drive or fly. So we flew, and he said, oh, my God, that looks like the national debt just buying the plane tickets. and then how we're going to get around when we get there. So he bought a car to leave down there.
Yeah.
And then after that, he said, we're going to drive. We're not going to spend that much money on the airfare. So we're going to drive, but I'm going to do it in one day.
Oh,
we're not going to stop and stay overnight.
And he would drive straight through.
Yep. I would take over towards a morning time for a couple of hours.
Okay.
And he would try to sleep. But then the kids were waking up and everybody wants breakfast.
Yeah.
So it was kind of crazy, but he would get a couple of hours. He took a lot of no-dose pills and stopped for coffee.
Yeah.
And that's how he did it.
And then grab snacks as you go, or would you stop somewhere and maybe get a sit-down meal? A Cracker
we did
Barrel
sit
somewhere?
down. There was no Cracker Barrel. It was truck stops.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. And then finally, they were ordering hamburgers and hot dogs all the time. And finally, I said, okay, you have to pick something else other than a hot dog or hamburger. And they said, well, what are we going to have? I said, I don't know. You look at the menu and just point if you don't know what it is, and that's what you're going to have.
Yeah, we're going to branch out a little bit.
So they did. They branched out to spaghetti and meatballs and clams.
Okay.
The little girls ordered clams. They didn't have any idea what they were ordering or if they'd eat them.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
2 more questions for you.
All right.
Your favorite all-time movie or book? Movie or book?
Oh, goodness. Again.
You said Elephant Man as a college memory.
Yes. Yes. That was just insightful. Boy. I don't know favorite. I read a lot. I just finished one that I like a lot.
Okay.
And it was named The Extraordinary Life of Sam Hill.
Okay.
His name was really Sam Hill. But when his father first looked at this baby, he said, what the Sam Hill? So it was a delightful book. I cried during the last half of the book at least. But it was a wonderful story, and but I've read so many wonderful stories. Favorite movie? Oh. I'm going to go all the way back to Gone with the Wind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Classic.
There
it is.
Many other
That's
good.
the Gone with the Wind alarm going off right
Is
there.
it? Yeah. But there have been lots of other good ones.
They don't make movies the length of Gone with the Wind anymore. People's attention spans. Gone with the Wind would be like a 10-part Netflix series now, I feel like.
Yes, I think it would.
No one can sit through 4 hours.
I agree.
And then my last question is, what do you know now that you would tell your 20-year-old self about how to live a happy and successful life?
Wow. Play more with your kids.
Hmm.
I didn't do that. Jessica does that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. You're hard on yourself.
That's what I would say, too. Mm-hmm. Don't be so hard on yourself. Yep. But she does that, and I'm very jealous.
Let's get Jessica in here, yeah.
You played with me.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, it sounds...
I probably had learned something by the time she came.
Yeah. It sounds like you've done pretty well for yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to make you cry at the end here.
Hard on myself thing.
Yeah.
I know where it came from.
Yeah, probably. But she was easy. She was easy.
Yeah.
We were going out to dinner one time when she was 3 years old. I remember distinctly. We were going to a barbecue restaurant. And I said, my husband said, let's just go and have ribs tonight. And I said, we can't. We've got Jessica tonight. And he said, so we have to stay home because we have Jessica? She behaves better than our kids. It's just, she's not ever a problem about anything. So I said, all right. So we took her, and the only thing she did other than eat was to walk in the back of this booth back and forth. And he said, see, she's not a problem.
Yeah.
She's not running around the restaurant and things. And she didn't. Yeah. She behaved all the time.
Not embarrassing anybody.
No, no, she was a good little girl. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's been great just meeting you and getting to hear your stories and your perspective on life. And if there's any other final things you'd like to say to us here as we wrap, it's open. You've given a lot of great wisdom here, even that I plan on taking forward after just meeting you an hour ago.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Good. Mm-hmm. I sometimes, people have said that to me when I don't know I'm even doing it. That's just things in my life. Just one more thought that comes to mind that I think I should share. Jessica probably knows, but I once bought a car without asking how much it cost.
Uh-oh.
Remember that? I bought a car without... He said, do you want to know how much it costs? And I said, no. And I'm going to give you a check, but it's not going to be any good till next week when I put the money in my account. So I'd like the keys and to take it now.
Yeah.
And he said, okay. So they washed the car up, set it up, and I said, I'm on my way to the lake, and I drove it up to...
What kind of car?
An Oldsmobile Aurora, which was an amazing car at the time.
Yeah.
It had every bell and whistle on that you could possibly want at that time. And the car was $40,000 at that time again.
Did the cost wind up being problematic, or did you wind up having enough in that checking account?
To pay for the car? Yeah. Absolutely not. Oh. Absolutely not. What I did was when my mom passed away, part of my inheritance was to sell her house.
Okay.
And it was a little house in North Minneapolis. But my share of that of selling the house was, I think, $15,000. My brother and I shared, and we shared with a brother who had passed away, his children. So I took my $15,000 And I wrote a check for $1,000 for each of the 5 kids. And then I took the $10,000, and that's the check. I said, I'm going to give you a check for $10,000 as a down payment. And they said, well, do you want to put your car as a down payment? And I called my youngest daughter, Kirsten, said, do you still want my car? She said, yes. I said, well, come and pick it up. It's at the dealer, and I'm going up the lake.
Yeah.
So she took the car. She was supposed to pay me for it, but she didn't.
Oh, funny how that works.
Funny how that works with kids. But I did take the car and make the payments.
How long did you have that car for then?
13 years.
Pretty good run.
Long time. And I wish they still made them. I would do it again.
Yes. It's a good run for a car.
Mm-hmm. It was.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Joanne, for your time here.
Thank you.
It was great getting to know you.
My granddaughter.
Yep, Jessica. Thanks for putting all this together.
Yes, she did.
And hopefully the family and anyone else who listens to this or watches this at any time gets value out of these conversations.
I hope so too.
Yep.
I hope so too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.